and always know you could feel beauty rising.
We help Companion Animal Sports Services and Sue Skatsky with Vermont Volunteer Services. Yeah, I saw.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and get going? I first want to start by thanking everyone for coming today. I know people have traveled from long and far to be here from all over Vermont because people really care about the Bottle Bill, and it's a program that enjoys overwhelming public support. And we think expanding it is just common sense, but as you know, it does seem to spark some really lively debate around the State House. And with the release of a draft Agency of Natural Resources report coming out tomorrow, we wanted to make sure that some voices not often seen around the State House could weigh in on this issue. The beverage industry has a clear stake in this, and they are able to pay full-time lobbyists to stand here and make sure their voices are heard by each and every one of our legislators. But some of the people here with me today, like the mom and pop redemption centers, the community groups that rely on bottle drives to help fund their important work, aren't able to be here day to day. And as this debate gets going, we wanted to make sure that some of these voices were, included right at the beginning of this discussion. At BPIRG, we've been following this ANR study closely, and just to remind you all, this report kind of was the product of an impassioned, 5+ hour debate on the floor of the Senate last spring, and what came out of it was, let's do an analysis of the Bottle Bill, and so that's what we're looking at coming out tomorrow. And there's some issues that were kind of outside of the scope of that study. It was pretty narrowly focused in what the ANR was asked to look at. And so we at BPIRG did an analysis of some issues that were left out of that. So you can grab copies of those over there. And further, again, some of the perspectives of the groups here today are not really being captured in what they were looking at, which is a bottom line cost analysis. So some of the things that we found in our report, for example, include places with both bottle deposit programs and curbside consistently have higher recycling rates at lower overall costs. So there's examples of this from across the U.S. and across the world. For example, the Central Vermont Solid Waste Management District has a zero waste mission, and they recently endorsed an expanded bottle bill. Another issue unique to beverage containers is on-the-go beverage consumption is a huge portion of how we use these products. So people tend to buy these, when you're out and about and you don't have easy access to your home recycling bin. So putting that financial incentive on the buy the bottle deposit gives people that extra motivation to hold on to and recycle those bottles and cans. And we see that it's incredibly successful with a recycling rate more than double what we see with any other program we have going in Vermont. Another issue is litter, which again, by encouraging people to hold on to and recycle those bottles and cans. Our study looks at some recent examples comparing bottle-bill and non-bottle-bill states, and it reconfirms that this program is just better at dealing with litter. And finally, we looked at some ways that Vermont's bottle bill could become even better by looking at some best practices in other areas that have redemption systems. So we have some recommendations on how we can make the system more efficient. So the last thing is we have a letter from all of the leading environmental groups in the state who agree that this program has a long history of being an environmental success for Vermont, and it should be expanded. The last point I want to quickly make is, we're hearing every day about budget shortfalls and what we can and can't do through the state, and the expanded bottle bill allows the state to keep the unclaimed nickels, and a new analysis shows that is an estimated $3 to $5.8 million each year that the state can take in, like most bottle bill states already do, and that was money that could, of course, be used to fund important work. So I am going to leave it there. Thank you again, everyone, for coming. I'm going to hand it over to Senator Galbraith quickly because he has to run, and we'll go from there.
Thank you very much, and thanks to VPIRG for organizing this event and for its leadership. I'll have to say that I do believe in evolution, and one of the things that has happened in the state of Vermont is that the bottle and litter situation has evolved. When this bottle bill was enacted, it was enacted as a litter control measure, and it applied to almost all the bottles that went to litter because water and juices were not put in bottles. But over the last 40 years of this incredibly successful program, and I remember when it came in and what a difference it made to the land around my home in Townsend. The situation has evolved, and today only about half the bottles are in fact subject to the bottle bill. And the litter problem remains, as a result, is growing, and is something that we need to address. And that's why expanding it is incredibly important for the original reason to which it was imposed, again, on the subject of evolution. Species, if they're going to survive, if they're going to evolve, they need to adapt, and we need to adapt the bottle bill. The second point I'd make goes also to your point about the interests that are against us. Senator Polina and I have an amendment to the campaign finance bill, which would ban direct corporate and contributions to candidates. If you look at who's giving money to Vermont candidates, it is the biggest contributors are Anheuser-Busch, the wholesale beverage industry, the grocers, Casella, all groups that have an interest in not expanding the bottle bill. Those are the biggest contributors. That's what we're up against. And that's why another part of the story, in my view, is to do what federal law has required since 1907, which is to restrict contributions to candidates to individuals, not allowing corporate or union contributions. Thank you. And excuse me for running on.
Thank you. I'd like to next turn it over to an amazing champion of this issue, Senator Anthony Polina.
Well, Wires back here, sorry about that. Anyway, I'm going to simply say that the bottle bill in Vermont is successful on every single level. It's one of our most effective environmental laws. It's one of our most popular environmental laws. And that is for very good reasons. It works. 85% of the containers that come under the bottle bill now are in fact recycled. Vermonters find it very, very popular. Vermonters support it. It ranks right up there with apple pie if you're old Vermonters. And one of the reasons why Vermonters support it is because Vermonters are engaged in it. There are very few environmental laws where people can actually wake up on a Saturday morning and be a part of cleaning up the environment. And the bottle bill is important in part because it really engages people in what it tends to do. It is also, as you can tell, a job creator. There are very few environmental, we always talk about, balancing jobs in the environment. Well, the bottle bill is in fact a job creator, and in fact the bottle bill is a revenue creator. It gives back to the community, as you'll hear from other folks who are going to speak in a little bit as well. So, from my point of view, expanding the Vermont bottle bill is simply a no-brainer. It's something that we need to do and that we should do. By expanding the bottle bill to other beverage containers, we're going to see less trash on the roadsides and in our stream beds. We're going to see an even cleaner environment. We're going to engage more people in helping keep that environment clean. And importantly, we're going to see more jobs. Again, we talk about jobs in the environment. The bottle bill is the best example of an environmental law that supports and actually creates jobs as it goes about cleaning up the environment. And if we do as other states have done, as it has been mentioned, it will actually, by recouping the lost nickels, allow us to generate a significant amount of revenue at a time when the state of Vermont really needs every source of revenue possible. So as I said, for those reasons, the fact that it is effective, very effective, that it engages people in what it does, is extremely popular because people are engaged in it. It creates jobs, it creates revenue while cleaning up our environment. Expanding the bottle bill simply makes good sense. It's as simple as that. What I'm going to do is turn it over briefly to Representative Cindy Weed, who's going to talk a little bit more about the money. And as Laurel mentioned, other states that have bottle bills recoup the lost nickels. You pay your nickel when you buy your product. If you don't return the can or the beverage container, somebody else holds on to the nickels, the beverage distributors do. If you want to do what other states have done, which is take those nickels back so we can invest them in more environmental programs here in the state of Vermont. So it's okay, I'll introduce Representative Cindy Weed.
Hi there. I am sponsor of H375, that's House Bill to expand the bottle bill. It's one of the most comprehensive bottle bills ever introduced, and we are looking for support. We would love to hear from the general public in the Senate and in the House, because we both have a bill. As Anthony noted, it has been noted by VPIRG, this is a money source, a revenue generator. And it is at a time when the budget is extremely tight. The governor does want to fund some new programs, such as early ed, which we're all in support of, but we don't feel that it can be done on the backs of the low-income folks. So another revenue source that was mentioned by the governor was to tax break open tickets used by nonprofits. And again, this would replace taking money from low-income Vermonters at a time when people are struggling. So that's about all I have to say. As Anthony said, and as you can see here, it's a job producer, and it's also going to keep our oceans and rivers clean. As we know, every square mile of the ocean is filled with small pieces of plastic that fish and eat, and then it kills them basically. Birds eat the fish and it kills them. So we're full of plastic. We've got too much plastic. I'm not going to get into the issues with the dangers of drinking things that are in plastic. That's a whole other story. But we do want to collect the money that has not been done yet. And as we expand the bottle bill, it's going to double the amount of money that we can generate through this source. So thank you very much.
Representative. Next, I would like to have Bob Pilati step up, please. He can introduce himself and from Rutland today.
Yes, hi, how you doing? My name is Bob Pilati. I'm with Carol's Discount Beverage in Rutland, Vermont. Family-owned business now going on 30 years. And the main reason I came up to join the event today was because I keep an eye on what's going on with the bottle bill and everything, and while obviously I'm in huge favor of expanding it to the containers they talk about. But the one thing I feel that gets left out more than anything is what the redemption and what the bottle bill since its inception has done for the state of Vermont for employment and small business. It is a huge contributor to obviously employment and small business, and like the Senator said, it creates jobs. I mean, what it does for me as a beverage center, it allows me to take the money generated from redemption and reinvest in product, to put back on the shelves, to pay salaries and wages. And it's a huge part of how our business operates. And without it'll be a sad state if something ever were to happen. And speaking with some of the other redemption owners here, I mean, explaining this is a no-brainer. I mean, we're there every day seeing what comes in and goes out, the amount of bottles that we get through our operations that we basically end up passing on to people that will say, just go ahead and throw it out, we don't want it, you know. And we see it every day, and it's frustrating, so it should definitely, you know, like the senator said, it's a no-brainer. But the bigger concern for me is I like to let people know that this employs a lot of people around the state of Vermont, and if things were to change, those people would be looking for jobs, because like I know, speaking personally, I have 9 employees that handle redemption full-time for me, and without the redemption bill, those people would be unemployed without even having to think about it. It's just a matter of numbers. So it is kind of a scary thing to hear that some people, you know, aren't in favor of or want to see it go away. It's really concerning. I mean, it's great to see what it does for the environment, keep things clean. It always has been. Like you said, it's been a bill that Vermont has always hung their hat on, and we should continue to do that. But like I said, I just wanted to come up and show my support for expanding it, and also to let people know, and I think there needs to be some more awareness out there what it does for small businesses and Vermonters that rely on it for a source of income and to keep their businesses going in the right direction and growing and things of that nature. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Bob. And last, Snook Downing is going to say a few words about how the bottle bill helps the community groups across the state. And his group in particular.
Well, thank you very much for letting me speak, and thank you to our senator who spoke ahead of me. I'd just like to say that I've been involved in collecting bottles and cans with my friend for 12 to 14 years. We're helping this organization by doing it. We're helping the horse rescue by doing it. We help another shelter in Print. With money that they would not have, we're providing services they would not have if it hadn't been for that. The latest thing was a building for the one in Print. They had no place to put their food. We were able to purchase a building, get it moved to their property, took care of that problem. Things like that is what this bottle program does. Also, we cannot forget, and I know it's been mentioned, the employment. Lawmaker is about creating jobs. People run for office with the idea they want to create a job. They want more jobs. Let's not take them away. We have these jobs. They're paying a payroll tax. Let's not take away the payroll tax. That reduces the state's income. We need to stay with it. We need to get stronger. We need to add more and keep our highways clean. Thank you.
All right. The last thing I wanted to mention is with this new analysis by the Agency of Natural Resources coming out, there's going to be a public hearing on March 12th. It's a Tuesday in about a week and a half, 5:30 p.m. at the Pavilion Auditorium here in Montpelier. And I want to get the word out so that the huge majority of Vermonters who support this program for the numerous reasons you've heard today can make sure that perspective is heard loud and clear by our agency and by our legislators. So with that, I will conclude and would be happy to take any questions anyone might have. We answered them. I'm so sorry, Ilana. We have one more speaker. Fabulous speaker. I should have had a list. So Ilana from Vermont Students Towards Environmental Protection, the group at UVM who successfully lobbied their campus to ban the sale of plastic water bottles. We are excited that the bottle bill has captured their attention and would like to say a couple words.
My name is Shana McCann, and I'm Alana Kuhnhaupt, and we are co-presidents of VSTEP, which is Vermont Students Towards Environmental Protection. And VSTEP is an organization of UVM students who are dedicated toward promoting environmental education on campus and student reform at UVM. And we work on a lot of campaigns. Most recently, our largest scale and long-term action has been promoted promoting a more sustainable beverage system at the school, which included working with administrators to discontinue the sale of bottled water at UVM. Just as a statement from students to say that we do not need oil-intensive and short-lived products, and instead support reusability from litter and landfills. And single-use plastic containers, such as plastic and plastic bags, contribute to litter and landfills, creating a dead end of energy that is unsustainable if we want to move away from fossil fuels and dangerous energy sources.
So this is why we support expanding Vermont's bottle bill. There are a lot of statistics about how many kilowatts of energy you can save from recycling juice bottles as well as everything else. But it's also just about values as a society, and we do value clean, beautiful streets. Do we value reclaiming all these millions of wasted bottles and cans every single year, or do we let them go into our landfills and lakes and streams? And as students, we're very aware that we have long lives ahead of us on this planet, and fossil fuel does not. So we really, we just don't consider it to be a sustainable future to be relying on these single-use things of energy. So we support moving away from plastics in general and reusing the ones that we are using. Always. Thank you.
Anyone else? Wonderful. All right. Thank you again. And again, happy to take questions or talk with anyone after. Thank you. And thanks again for coming in from all over and for your leadership, Senator Polina, or Dozie. Thank you. All right.
Good, how are you doing? Yeah.
Can we get it? We can squeeze. Okay, we can squeeze. All right, 1, 2, 3, cheese. Great, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sue Skalsky with Vermont Volunteer Services for Animals Humane Society, and welcome to our show For the Animals. Today we are at the State House overseeing a bottle bill that is currently before the House and the Senate. And we're interested in this for several reasons. Number one, we are fortunate to be the recipient of some funds that help in turn us help people with animals. But a couple points that need to be made. A lot of people up and down the Connecticut River Valley actually over the years have lived in tents along the riverbanks. They depend on going out and picking up returnable bottles, scraps of copper, and returning them for money. To take away this opportunity for even the most meager amount of funding for them is not right. Also, the recycling of it. In the Pacific Ocean, we have a mass as large as the state of Texas, made up primarily of plastic bottles that people have tossed overboard, plastic that does not disintegrate. Don't take my word for it. Google it. Look it up. If plastic bottles become of importance to people because there's a financial attachment to them, you're going to find out that those plastic bottles, just the same as the Coke, the Pepsi, whatever else is attached, is going to be picked up and recycled. We really need to keep this. So I would ask you all, please call your representatives, call your senators. It's toll free. The number is 1-800-322-5616, and ask them to deliver a message to your senators and your representatives. If you don't know their names, they will be able to tell you, but tell them you want them to support the bill with regard to recycling. We're here with Senator Anthony Polina, who is one of the sponsors of the bottle bill in the Senate. And one thing that you mentioned during your presentation, which was excellent, by the way, was that there is a hope that you will be able to eliminate the ability for companies to make financial contributions to senators and representatives of special interest. How much out on a limb are you on that?
Well, it's interesting because I think if you were to ask most members of the legislature if they thought it was wrong to take contributions from corporations that do business in the legislature, most of them would say yes. But on the other hand, it's been very, very difficult to move forward with a ban on corporate contributions, which is what we're talking about. If you look at where representatives or legislators get their money, you do find that corporations tend to give. And they give to both sides because they want to buy up as much interest as they can. And it is true that beverage distributors and bottlers and beverage companies, Anheuser-Busch, Coca-Cola, wholesale beverage distributors, and others, have given significant amounts of money, to political candidates from both parties. And then they come into the building and they can yield enormous power when they have issues that they think are important. So whether they're buying, influence or not is not the question. Whether it appears as if they're buying influence, which it does when they give money to candidates.
It's the appearance of conflict.
Well, and it makes people feel as if the system is corrupted, which
Right.
slowly but surely it is becoming. So it's an ongoing conversation. What I would say is that as a member of the Progressive Party, I simply do not take contributions from corporations. Once or twice I've been sent a contribution from a corporation and I returned it. I said I don't do this. And progressives have asked the other parties to do the same, candidates from the other parties to do the same. So far we have not been allowed to vote.
I applaud you. I applaud you in your effort.
Thanks.
Stay brave. Stand tall. Thank you very much for watching us on For the Animals and considering this very important piece of legislation. And join us again next week.
At dusk, there came a turning. There was a moment when all was known. You could feel beauty rising on the breeze, the shapes, the stone, and I would ride upon